Hey, I'm Ray Hudson, and you are... I don't know who you are, but you're listening to Blaugrana Graham. Don't be like them kids in the Blair Witch Project and go away, alright?
Hello, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to the Driven Shot podcast. Been a little while. We've been gone for, I want to say 2 weeks.
Yep.
But we're back, and part of that has been the fact that I've had some exams to go through. So that's kind of taken up some of my time. But yeah, we are back in full force. And yeah, it's nice to be back. Joav, how are you doing, man?
Good to have you back. As you said, a few exams couldn't really let us be here together. And you told me
Yeah.
if I wanted to do it alone, it's like, no, it won't be the same without you, Omar.
Likewise. Yeah, I mean, we do have a lot of fun on here, and we've got a good handful of viewers so far. Remember, you can always drop your comments down below, drop your thoughts, opinions, whatever you may want to say to us, whether that's just saying hi or whether it's saying that you think something sucks. Just let us know down below, and we'll go through them as the episodes go on. And of course, remember, these do go out on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. This podcast and our other podcast in Spanish covering Barça B and Barça Femení also go out on there. That one is called Bloganagram and El Johan. You can find both of those on the platform that you use for podcasts. So do check that out, and hopefully you'll find something you like there. If you want coverage for anything else in the first team, and if you also understand Spanish. Otherwise, here we have some talking points today, which are going to be mainly Barca's new signings, and they've made quite a lot of them. And then also talking about the Euros that are starting soon, next week. And yeah, probably just some hypotheticals, some stuff about Genie, Wijnaldum, and just a general chat. Just have a bit of fun. So yeah, first of all, I know a lot of people. At least this is something I found quite funny, right? When Eric Garcia was at Manchester City and he was doing really, really, really well, a lot of their fans were like, "Oh yeah, this guy is the next big thing. He's ours he's gonna stay with us for the next 10 years. He's gonna be a club legend." And then as soon as he said, "You know what? I don't think I want to stay here. I don't want to renew my contract." Whether that partly, I think a part of that was also the fact that he wasn't getting as much playing time, especially after Ruben Dias joined the club. That kind of hindered him a bit. But even before that, when it seemed like he was pretty clear that he wanted to leave. And then once that sort of materialized and it was very clear that he was leaving, people were like, "Oh, Barca are signing the wrong Manchester City center back. He's not going to be good enough. You're going to see how bad he is." And it's like, no, he's a quality player. He's a quality defender. There's a reason why Barcelona want him. And there's a reason why City, at least I imagine at least, would have wanted to renew with him. Because it seemed like, at least from what I read and heard, it seemed like he wanted to leave more than they wanted to let go of him. Which, I mean, there's a reason for that. And he was clearly very much liked in the dressing room. I even remember at one point with some of Manchester City's social media content, where they interview players and all the fun stuff, the fun stuff behind the scenes. And they were talking about Eric Garcia and a few players. And I remember one of them said that the player in the squad that's most likely to become a manager when he retires. And please correct me if I'm misremembering this, but in the chat. But that person, I don't remember which player it was, but he said Eric Garcia, and two of them pretty much agreed on that it would be Eric Garcia because he has this very intricate understanding of the game, and that very good sense of anticipation. And when you have that type of thing in a player, that doesn't just go away. That's a tactical awareness, and that sticks with you. Your technical ability might, take a bit of a hit, but I think a lot of that also comes down to consistency. And I know a lot of people were critical of him in his recent performances and saying, "Oh, look, he's not playing well." To be fair, if you know you're leaving, that's going to influence you as it is. And then add to the fact that he's not really been playing that much for them anyway. So you kind of get thrown off rhythm a bit, right? And then, it's the same thing with Matthijs de Ligt when he joined Juve. Everyone was like, "Oh yeah, this is Juve fans were obviously happy with the signing, right?" But after a while, his performances started to go down a bit. He started to pick up a lot of yellows and reds, make a lot of rash challenges, and I think that's just part of the pressure. That doesn't, I mean, you doing that doesn't mean you're a bad player. Because I mean, the argument for that would then be, oh well, he's played in Ajax, not in like the Premier League or any of the top 5 leagues. But a quality player is still a quality player, and I think the same goes for Eric Garcia. Even though his form hasn't been great, he's still a quality player, and I think he'll show that for Barca.
Yep. Well, a lot of things to add to that. I mean, um, just by the fact that Pep basically gave like his seal of improvement on Eddie Garcia tells you a lot. Because I mean,
Oh yeah,
Pep's been around on football. I mean, like what, as a manager at least, more than 10 years easily. He's seen thousands and thousands of players, so he knows and he recognizes quality. I mean, just look at Kimmich. He took him under his
oh
wing
yeah.
when he was still a gem, a rough gem,
Hmm.
and look at what he is now. So I think I'm not comparing obviously Eric Garcia to Kimmich. I just want to say that Pep knows when he sees a valuable player, and he
Yeah,
sees that in Eric Garcia because you could actually see him saying like, "I would love him to stay. I don't want him to leave. I wish he would stay with us." But then again, he knows that if he goes to Barcelona, he'll have probably the opportunities that right now he can't give to him in Manchester City because, as you said, Ruben Diaz arrived and he just took the first squad by storm. He actually was voted as the MVP of the Premier League just a few days ago of
yeah,
last season. So, I mean, that speaks a lot to Ruben Diaz. And also, you can't really compete against him at the moment. He is one of the top defenders in the world. But also,
he
what I
is.
really like about Eddie Garcia coming back to Barcelona is that at a last of a defender, well, besides Oscar Mingueza,
Oh yeah,
Masia May defender finally will take the first team because it's been a really, really long time since that's happened, especially since Eddie Garcia went through all the ranks with Barcelona and basically being captain in all those youth teams for Barcelona. So also that's going to be very exciting because right now you have Clement Lenglet that isn't a bad defender, but he certainly isn't a Barca style defender. You have
mm.
Samuel Umtiti, who was really, really good a few years ago, but then, as we all know, just basically didn't have
Yeah.
a correct
That
management of his
yeah
knee
that
injury.
surgery as well. That surgery in the World Cup kind of. I think that was pretty much the turning point for him.
Yep. So it's actually really refreshing to see a defender like Eddie Garcia that really knows and understands what Barcelona want to play and the style of play of Barcelona. And you know that he'll basically fit in right away because he knows the style of play. He'll
Yeah.
maybe have a little bit of adaptation to the La Liga and the first team and all that. But other than that, I think it will be a pretty good match. And also, let's take into consideration the city of Barcelona is much better than Manchester. I'm sorry to all
Oh
those that live in Manchester, but I mean, I'm pretty sure he'll be more happy because, especially since he's a Spaniard, he'll be in Spain, he'll be in the club of his dreams. So I think he will be a really good signing in the long haul for Barcelona.
yeah, no, I agree. I think he'll be an excellent signing, and I think the fact that he was snatched up on a free, I think makes it even better because had Barca managed to sign him a year ago, they would have probably Manchester City would have probably have asked for a bit more than what he was worth at the time. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or at least tried to. But yeah, I mean, it's a very honestly, I'm very impressed by the signing, especially because it's free. Um, he's not going to hurt the wage bill too much, and you get a
Yep.
quality player. He's still very very young, and as you said, he knows Barca inside out. Um, and he can grow alongside players like PK, learn from players like Busquets. Um, and yes, I know people are going to say Busquets isn't a defender. No, that's true, but he does have a lot of defensive in him. A lot of like his style of play is not really defensive. It is, but not as a center back. But he just has a lot of that anticipation, a lot of that knowing when to actually go in for the ball and when to just contain jockey the opponent, and that type of stuff. As basic as it might seem, is that's one of the things that I think makes Busquets as good as he has been over the last 10, 15 years. Um, so for Garcia to be able to learn from players like him and players like PK, players like Alba even, um, I think it's going to be a great match, a great matchup for sure. Um, Another thing that I know a lot of people spoke about, aside from the defense, Well, there are a few names that are being thrown around in the papers and thrown around in the negotiation rooms as well, probably. Um, if we're talking about Jordi Alba, I think he's gone under the radar last season. I think he was one of the most consistent performers for Barca. And I know for a lot of people that's going to be like, no, why? No, you know, a lot of people are going to disagree with that. And if you want to disagree, that's totally fair. I just think he was extremely consistent last season. You can tell he's elevated his game a bit more from the season before that and from the Anfield season, from the Roma season. And I think a lot of that is credit to Ronald Koeman and his staff because they've just, you can tell how much they mean to some of the players at least. Like Pedri, I'm sure absolutely loves Koeman and his staff right now. You know, and they've shown Pedri that trust. And if you hadn't shown him that trust, not just playing him, but actually showing him, hey, I believe in you. I'm going to play you in El Clasico. I'm going to play you in these big games. And I'm going to give you a very specific, big, prominent role in these games. That type of trust shown from a manager is something that people tend to neglect, I think. Because one thing is playing him, right? Like, you know, let's say Trincao, for instance, right? Trincao was played by Koeman quite a few times, not a lot, a few times. But in those games, it seemed like he didn't have a set role, if that makes sense. Like with Dembele, when he's on that right side, you know exactly what's expected of him. Beat the man, go for the cross, or combine with your RC right, the midfielder on his side, which quite often is Frenkie de Jong. Combine with him or combine with Pedri for a 1-2, then drill it in for a cross or something, right? You know his role. Trincao, it felt like, didn't have as much of a role. It was more as in go out and be creative and do what you think is right. Work instinctively, which for some players works really well. For Neymar, you don't really need to give him a role because he just works based on his instinct. I mean, obviously knowing where to position himself. But aside from that, he's just going to work off his instinct. And for some players, that works really well. I believe that's how Messi plays as well. Right, so when you have players like that getting those roles, that's one thing. And then for Trincao, after that, he hasn't really had a whole lot of playing time. So that's, that's also like that plus the fact that he's just been given a role where it's just like go out and help out your right back, build up the play, however you see fit, and then that's it. Like obviously I don't know the specific instructions, but the point I'm trying to make here is rather than just giving him a role, just sticking him in midfield and saying, just press the ball and just pass it when you get it. Pedri has had a very, very specific role. And if you rewatch some of Barca's matches, even if you just look at the highlights, you can see that his role has been very much to be that link. Even as a box-to-box midfielder, he's always been the link between Busquets and between the attack, or even at times between the defense and the midfield, dropping all the way back to help build the attack or dropping all the way back to defend because he lost possession. And that type of stuff, I think, is very important to have in a team. And I think that's one of the things that Koeman maybe doesn't get enough credit for is how well he's managed Pedri. And that's also one of the reasons why Pedri is, he's going to be a star for the national team for sure.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, as you said, Jordi Alba, I really liked him, but also I think it's a lot of merit to the fact that he isn't asked to be that defender anymore, to be that defender on that left side. I mean, he knows he has to defend, as you said. He isn't like going all out attack every single play, but I think he's a little bit more free, and with a little bit more liberty. So he can go up front when he wants. He has had more assists and certainly more goals than usual this season. But I think it's a lot to the system with that 5 midfield in which he basically is a left midfielder and he goes up and down, but he isn't really asked to be that defender that has to cover an attacker. And when he gets beaten, the defense is just really weak at the moment. So I think it's a really good sign for him. And that's when I say, okay, so he's really good attacking, but he can't be your left back if you go back to the 4-3-3. Because you can't ask him to be that attacker that he has been this season and be the same defender, because it's not humanly possible. Just a few fullbacks can actually do that. But so also, I mean, he is getting older, the physique isn't the same as a few years ago. He is still really fast, but you can see a little bit of lag when he's trying to start his run.
Yeah.
So I think it's really awesome that he had like this season in which he came back and he did so much. And I think, as you said, it's a great deal thanks to Ronald Koeman. But if Ronald Koeman for this season, as supposedly Laporte he has to go back to the 4-3-3, we won't see the same Jordi Alba. We'll see the Jordi Alba in which he suffered a bit when he was 2 against 1 defending, or when he was just simply beaten by a more clever attacker. So
Yeah.
I think it's just something that we have to take into consideration. Also, I mean, as you said, Pedri has been amazing. I think nobody really saw him having this much of an impact. And as you said,
Yeah.
sometimes the confidence that the manager has in certain players, even though us the fans don't really understand why it happens or why it is, but I mean, it's really something that is really important to the players, because imagine having to go to work and just knowing that your boss doesn't trust you, or knowing that your boss doesn't really even think that you can do it. And as you said,
Yeah.
Trincao, I think, I don't know if Coman didn't really know how to use him, or as you said, just simply said, be creative and do what you want or what you feel like. But I do think Trincao is in that moment of career when he needs that guidance from Ronald Koeman and actually tell him what he needs to do. Because I mean, he's really young, and imagine
He
just
is.
being
Yeah.
that age and going into Barcelona and the manager just saying like, "Oh, we'll play like Messi or play like Neymar." You're gonna be like, "Well, I'm not either of them yet, or I'll never be." But I think it's really something that Koeman has to manage even better, because I mean, the midfield was more solid than the attack, and I think really
Yeah.
Trincao needs that stability, as Dembele used to have when he first arrived, because also Dembele was basically the same thing. It was just like, well, let's see what
That's true.
Dembele does when he arrived. So I think that Trincao has a lot of potential, and well, we'll also have to see how the other signings, well, possible signings for Barcelona, pan out, and see what
Yeah.
that attack will actually look like for next season.
Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting regardless. I mean, a lot of these players, as you said, are clever players too. Like, Trincao is a smart player. He has a good understanding of the game and good understanding of time and space. And for those that followed him in Braga, especially after after the signing was announced to Barca, he was very, very good. And yes, you can say all you want. Oh, it's Braga. It's the Portuguese league. But even then, it still shows. Because for me, I think the whole argument of, oh, it was in a weaker league, that's okay. But in some aspects, I think that, well, at least in some arguments, some discussions and debates, I think that argument is valid, right? To say, oh, he did it in a weaker league. That's not the same as doing it in Spain or in England or whatever.
It's still professional football. I mean,
It is. And that's my point. Like, if you're talking about a certain player's ability to understand the game, right? If you're talking about does this football understand the concept of time and space and how to move in a certain way to open up space for his teammate who's drifting towards the right, that type of movement and that type of cleverness, that if you have that in a weaker league, you still have it in a big league, if a quote unquote big league, because that sort of tactical awareness is there inherently. It's there. Granted, when you go to a different league, even if it's at the same level as the league you just played in, there is going to be that adaptation period that you were talking about with Eddie Garcia, right? That's going to be there regardless. And of course, if you're used to certain types of movements from certain types of defenders in the Portuguese league, and you go to Spain or you go to England, and they play differently, the defenders. Because the thing is, right, if you go to England and you see how they play the Premier League defensively, they are very, very different from how they are in Spain. Because in Spain, the focus is on being very technically and tactically astute. In England, it's more about discipline, more about physicality. So if you as a player are used to a certain type of movement because you're used to playing in the Premier League, right? And you have this tactical awareness, you know exactly what this player is going to do because you faced him 5 times. And also because that's how this team's style of play is, or that's how the league style of play is. And you then go to a different league that's maybe better or more competitive. You still have that same tactical awareness. You just have to adjust how you perceive it as the game's going on, because players react differently depending on where you're playing.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
you
I'm
don't
sorry,
lose
go.
that. You know what I mean? No. You don't lose that when you go from one league to another.
Yep, I mean, that ability isn't going anywhere just by geography. So you still have that.
Exactly.
You just have to polish it
Exactly.
or modify it to wherever you're playing. I mean, Trincao, we saw some stunning goals in Braga that he
Yeah.
cut back from the right to the left to the center, sort of like the same moment that Robin did his whole career.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
but I mean, even though it's in Portugal, it will be the same in Barcelona if he is given the chance and if he finds similar options or similar, well, yeah, options. So
Yeah.
I think it would be. I think it's really dismissive to say that a player has done it in a weaker league, so he won't be able to do it in another league. Because then I could just say, Cristiano Ronaldo should have never had success because he came from the Portuguese league, or whatever player from South America shouldn't have had never any success because he made it in a weaker league. So
Yeah.
I do understand that sometimes some players don't really live up to the hype, and it does happen because I mean some players can actually cope with the pressure or aren't really that good.
Mm.
But just by saying the fact that they did it in a weaker league doesn't really mean that much, because let's say that Depay actually does sign for Barcelona, and in his first season he scores 40 goals. But you said, oh well, he did it in the weaker league of France. He shouldn't do it in Spain, but he actually does it in Spain as well. So I think it would be. I mean, there are options for both scenarios, but I think
Mm-hmm.
it's really not that dismissive. And as I said before, Trincao is really young. So imagine just
Yes.
arriving at Barcelona and the manager saying, "Oh, you're going to play this game." I mean, he is human. The nerves will probably kick in,
Oh yeah.
and it was just his first season. If it was his fifth season in Barcelona and he still didn't really do much, I would say, okay, so maybe he just doesn't make the cut.
Yeah.
But it was his first season. Let's see what actually happens. Let's see if he continues in squad, because I know that a lot of people say that he should go on loan in a La Liga team. I think it would
Mm-hmm.
be a good experience for him, especially if Gorman actually tells him you won't be playing that much. It would be better for you to actually gain some experience in Spain in another
Yeah.
team. But I mean, at the end of the day, if he has playing time, it'll be the best for him.
Oh yeah. No, 100%. And I think he is one of those players where at his age you do need playing time consistently, even
Yeah.
if that's not in Barcelona. You know, even if he goes out on loan to a smaller league side, that's not bad. You know, you
Yeah,
can
no.
get experience with the league and know how they play, and then come back to Barcelona and just do your thing. Um, so yeah, I mean, I just want to emphasize this because I've seen a lot of Trincao slander. So I just wanted to address it, and I think the same thing goes for a lot of other youngsters and a lot of other players. You know, I know. Just to give an example, Antoine Griezmann, a lot of people were labeling him a flop after his first season. So many. And he turned out, in my opinion, which again might be a hot take to some people, I think he's done pretty well this season. And then pretty much the most clear example is probably Neymar after his first season. People were saying he was terrible and Barca shouldn't have signed him. And why do they sign people from Santos? He turned out to be one of the best players in the world and formed 1/3 of the best trio possibly in football history. So it takes time, especially for youngsters with a lot of pressure on them, with a heavy price tag. That can influence you.
The glory
So
days of
yeah,
the MSN, right?
yeah, MSN, yeah. Uh, so yeah, keep that in mind when you throw in those replies on Twitter and Instagram. And yeah, moving on to something else. Before we talk about the Euros briefly, and I really really want our audience here to comment down below. We'll don't worry, we'll talk about this when we get to it. But comment down below who you think is the favorite for the Euros. Um, Joav, I want to ask you, if Memphis signs for Barcelona, hypothetically, where do you see him fitting in terms of
Uh,
like the setup? Because that's my biggest issue with it. Is I
yep.
really don't know where he'd fit in. Because who do you throw out? Griezmann has had a really good season, everything considered. Messi, you're obviously not going to boot Messi out. And then Ansu Fati is coming back. Coutinho might stay, so that's another player to worry about. Aguero, and then also Memphis. And Dembele. So and Pedri. So where like how does that work? Because if it's a 3-4-3, I think Memphis would probably honestly, if Griezmann for one reason or another isn't playing that night and Dembele has is off form, right? I think the right setup would in a 3-4-3 would be Messi on the right, Aguero through the middle, Memphis on the left.
Okay.
Because Memphis has played as a winger quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he actually made a name for himself playing on the wing.
Yeah.
When he arrived at Manchester United, he was a winger, just a pure winger.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean,
I feel like it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to fit Messi and Aguero and Memphis and Griezmann on the same team.
Well, I mean, let's say, right? Let's say that actually Coman does go to a 4-3-3, either because Laporte literally asked him to, or just because he had inspiration and said, like, well, let's play 4-3-3 again. Well, the midfield, I think it would be basically the same, right? Busquets, Pedri, and De Jong. Let's hopefully Busquets still actually has the potential to play as well as he had. Let's say that continues. In the attack, let's say that everyone is healthy and everyone is in good form. I don't know, because I mean, obviously Messi's going to play. I'm not going to say something crazy like, "Oh, I'll bench Messi and just play Ansu instead." I mean, Messi is a given. So I would actually really like to see Messi, Depay, and Ansu. I think it would be a really incredible experiment because
that's nasty.
I mean, you would have a lot of speed on at the very top. You would have either Ansu that can actually really hit the goal really well, and then you have Depay that is so. I think he could do so much that he's so unpredictable. I mean, that's what I think is really makes him a really good player. That he's so unpredictable. He can hit it from 20 yards out and just hit it at the back of the net out of nowhere, or he can have just like a tap in. So I think he's a really good player. I would also obviously love to see Aguero play. But then again, I wouldn't really like to see Ansu's progress be cut out because I mean I know he's coming back from an injury, and this situation is he was 100% healthy. If he would be coming back, I think I would agree with you. It would be Messi, Aguero, and Depay on the left wing, and to just like slowly cut back in Ansu Fati. But I think those four players would be like the main for me. I mean, Dembele has had good moments, but I think Ansu has had more better moments in the last few seasons.
You know what it is as well. I agree with you. I think that would be crazy, and I think a lot of our audience would agree with you. Let us know what you think about the whole Memphis thing. If you think he would fit in and how you think he'd fit in, let us know down below. We'll talk about it here in the latter part of this podcast episode. As far as Griezmann goes, I would love to see him in midfield. I really would, because I think he has a good eye for a pass. I think his pressing is something that would be very good to have in a midfield. And if you really want to play him and you have three really good attackers and you want to play all four, Griezmann is a cam.
So,
but then where do you put Pedri? And that's kind of the issue you go back to, right? Unless it's tough, man. I would love to see Griezmann play midfield just one time, just see how it goes, because I really do think he has the quality to do it.
So similar to what he plays actually in France in the national team, just behind the striker.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it would
maybe
be
in a bit more defensive role, even not. No, I'm not saying putting him as like a pivot, but a box to box, because he already plays like a box to box. He just has to go all the way up when he's done. I think that would be an interesting experiment. I'd love to see that. At some point,
let's say that Barcelona does sign Depay, and everybody's healthy. Would you, who would you sell? Coutinho, Griezmann, Because I mean, they basically would like to play the same role, as you said,
Oh yeah,
behind the striker and have that final touch or play that final pass.
you're right. You're right. Um, the only thing that okay, so I was just looking up Coutinho's age compared to Griezmann's because I wasn't sure how old Coutinho was.
Coutinho's like 28, right, or
He is
something like
28,
that.
yeah. And Griezmann recently turned 30. But if I had to sell one of the two, as much as it hurts me to say this, because people who know me know how much I love Felipe Coutinho and how much I love him as a player. But given how his career has gone for Barca, and given how Griezmann has done for Barca, I would probably sell Coutinho.
Okay.
If I had to keep one, it would probably be Griezmann. Because of the fact that Griezmann has also adapted better.
Yep. I
But
mean, you look
no.
into the squad depth and you have a lot of players that can actually play the same position. I think that was at the beginning of the season the problem, because you had Coutinho, you had Messi, you had Pedri, basically three players that wanted to play the number 10 role, and nobody
Yeah.
really did it well because and also Griezmann, because you had all four wanting to play the same role and no one near the opposition's goal. So I
Yeah.
think it will be a pretty interesting, as well as acquisition side for Barcelona, the sells, because who are you going to sell? Are you going to keep both Griezmann and Coutinho? Are you just going to sell one? Are you going to keep both of them? Are you going to sell the two? So yeah, I mean
Yeah, it's gonna be
it's really crazy.
yeah.
But finally, you have a president that knows what he's doing with John Laporta, and I really like this position with this whole Wijnaldum situation, in which basically PSG just hijacked the signing and threw a lot of money to Wijnaldum. And Laporta said, we're not gonna raise, we're not gonna go into a bidding war. And I think that's something that probably a few years ago would have happened under another management I'm not going to mention. But I really like Laporta, and I think he does know what's best for the club.
I think I'm very happy that Laporta won the elections, because again, Laporta was with Barca back all the way back when Barca were really good. That was under Laporta, so I'm really happy that he's back. Um, and I think the elections were very exciting because you saw a lot of different sides to what Barca could become, and I think Laporta has a clear strategy and a clear view of what he wants and expects of this Barcelona. And if the news about the genie bidding war not taking place are true, if that's what Laporta said, I'm all for it. I think that's a very good decision because the thing with Genie is I think he could fit in at Barca as sort of like a Paulinho type player, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't think he's worth breaking the wage bill over. Also
No,
because of his age, right?
no,
If you were
no. I
talking
mean,
about if he was younger, if this was like back in his Newcastle days before he
yeah.
moved to Liverpool. If it was at that point, then yeah, maybe. But now he's old, and you don't. At this point for Barcelona, I think the priority is to just sign as many players on free, good players on a free as you can. Slowly build up the team, and then add on to that once you can add on to that, right?
Yep.
And from that perspective, I think the strategy so far has worked out really well. You've gotten Aguero for free, Eric Garcia for free.
Reduce wages as well for both of them.
Yeah, and Emerson Royal has also joined.
Oh yeah.
Um, really good signing. Really good signing. Um, and then we'll have to see what the transfer market holds. But I honestly I don't think like the transfer market isn't even open yet. But I think we'll see a lot of movement from Barcelona, especially. So that's going to be interesting. Whether that's loans, whether that's departures, I think we will see a lot of stuff going on, and that's refreshing. So, in terms of the Euros, right? Before we say our predictions, I want to highlight Omi Tudi's prediction. Thank you so much for throwing it in the chat, and thank you so much for interacting. I think France is the favorite to win, but would love for Spain to come on top. France have the most depth and experienced players in key positions, and N'Golo Kante.
I love the fact that he
That
added
pretty
like
much
the plus
yeah.
Kante.
That pretty much sums up what I think as well. Like when you look at France's team, logically, there is no way they should not win.
No,
Honestly.
no.
Because, yeah, Portugal have some really good talents. Spain have some really good players. And really good young talents, too. Italy Could
Good team.
could be
Good team.
surprising. Yeah. Netherlands, Belgium, also very good teams. But France just have that insane combination of players. Absolutely crazy. And personally, I would love to see Spain win it. I think it would be fun if Belgium won it. But I would love to see Spain win it. But I think France are the favorites. What do you think, Joe?
I mean, I really like a lot of the teams. Obviously, I like Netherlands. I like how they
Oh, yeah.
play. Well, I liked how they used to play under Koeman. But I think it will be really interesting. But as you said, I mean, I don't really see any single team, if you put them like 90 minutes against France, like seeing, oh, this team's going to beat them for sure, or they're going to have a lot of problems with this team. I'm like, well, no. You have a really good goalkeeper in Hugo Lloris that has so many years of experience, as Omituti said. You have Kante, that's basically just a machine of recovering balls, going up, scoring goals, and all that. You have Kylian Mbappe. You have Karim Benzema coming back. You have Ousmane Dembélé on the bench. You have Paul Pogba. I mean, that defense is also so amazing.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
fast. They're quick. They're strong. They're smart. I mean, as you said, I don't really see any single team. I was going to crack a joke that England, but nobody's going to believe it. So I don't really see. I mean, I would love to see Italy really compete for it, because I love the midfield that they have. They have
Oh, yeah.
Barella, they have Sensi,
Verratti.
they have Verratti. I mean, I really like the midfield, and also I think the attack is really refreshing to see. Again, an Italian team that can actually really score goals and play a really good midfield. But again, I mean, if you put Pogba in front of Verratti, who do you think is going to win? Either by just physicality,
Especially if Pogba is in form.
Yep,
And recently
he always gets in form for France for some reason. I mean, he becomes a
It's
monster
weird,
in the
yeah.
national team. But I mean, also, as you said, Belgium would be awesome. But also, let's take into consideration that Eden Hazard, basically one of his worst seasons so far in his whole career. Kevin De Bruyne being banged up in the final of the Champions League. Courtois, really good player, obviously. Lukaku, an amazing striker this season. It would be really awesome
Mertens
to see.
also quite good.
Yep,
Although I feel
Dries
like he's
Mertens.
very inconsistent.
Yep.
I think, at least for Napoli. But he's a quality player. He's just very inconsistent.
And then, I mean, Germany also has a really good team. I really like Germany. They have a really competitive team. But then again, if you put in front, like, who you think is going to score more goals, Karim Benzema and Kylian Mbappe, or Kai Havertz and Timo Werner?
Oh my God.
I mean, who you think is going to score more goals in the tournament of 1 month? So,
no, 100%.
So I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. But at the end of the day, I know at the back of my head that France are basically the team to beat.
Yeah. Like, I really feel like if you beat France, you can probably
You're the champion.
have a chance. You can probably maybe have a little chance. But yeah, their team is absolutely ridiculous.
But the group
honestly,
stage of France,
I think,
I'm sorry, just gonna say the group stage of France is gonna be really amazing. I mean, you have Germany, France, and Portugal in the same group. So amazing football, at least for us, the fans.
Oh yeah. No, it's really fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And yeah, like there are a lot of like teams that could surprise, but the thing that would surprise me the most is if France did not win the Euros this year.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put that out there. And I'm sure that's what everyone is thinking. I mean, listen, man, you've got Griezmann, Kingsley Coman, Dembele. Those are potential bench players.
Martial.
Yeah. As well. If you have players good enough to bench those four, man, like it's crazy. Also, their midfield. I mean, I was looking at a list when the official squad list was put out. I was looking at a list of players that didn't make the cut, and some of the names in there are ridiculous.
I mean,
the fact that you can it's just crazy to me.
You have Camavinga and Nawar that were actually playing a youth tournament as well, and they're both players that could have really played the first national team. So I mean, the production of young players for France is astonishing. I love them. And as you said, we'll probably see in 1 month just like the photo shoot of N'Golo Kante with his trophy and all happy and all that. I
Probably, yeah.
mean, he has no haters. He's an amazing player. I mean, just by having him, especially in the great form, and he actually ended his season with
Oh
Chelsea.
yeah,
Also, is going to bring so much for France.
100%. And I think he is going to be one of those players that are really going to light up the Euros this year. Just a quick fire question: Copa America, if it goes through,
Yeah.
you're probably Who are you? Who are you with? Who do you think is going to win?
I don't know. I mean, I always think that Brazil is going to win, but at the end they somehow choke.
Yeah, that's
uh,
true.
I don't know what happens with that group. I mean, they had amazing qualifiers to the World Cup. They seemed that they were going to go really the long haul, but then all of a sudden, I don't even remember against who they lost.
I don't remember.
But I'm going to say Argentina because of Messi. But
Yeah,
I think that's every Barcelona fan dream that Messi can finally win something with the national team. But I mean, as
yeah,
you said, if it goes through, let's hope that if it goes through, it's with the sake with everything in good conditions of health and all that. Because as we said so many times on this podcast, it is a game. We love the game, but it's not worth risking lives of so many people just to have
no.
entertainment during the summer. So if it happens, let's hope that it's in the best conditions. Let's hope that it does happen, but let's hope that also the people at the head of it don't really force it into a position in which um, people can actually get harmed or get sick.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's something people tend to forget as well. Is as much as we love this sport and as much as we love what the sport brings to us, it's also important to remember that there are human beings, some of them with real conditions that can be very much in danger of going to a competition like this, whether that's players or staff members or architects, whatever it may be.
Even
So yeah,
security.
hopefully, yeah. So hopefully, if it goes through under conditions that favor the health of everyone involved. And if that can't take place, if that can be guaranteed, then hopefully it won't go through.
Yep.
But yeah, other than that, um,
What would you say in Copa America?
yeah, I'm gonna go with Argentina. Chile always surprised me somehow. I don't know how they do it. They somehow always surprise me, and I
Yep.
wouldn't be surprised if they somehow won it. But I hope Argentina are gonna win it, just because I want Messi to win an international trophy and just make that whole argument of he hasn't won an international trophy stop, because
Yep.
that's it's the dumbest argument I've heard, but it's an argument that people make, and if he wins a Copa America, maybe hopefully that's gonna stop.
No, are they gonna go like he's never won the World Cup
The
now?
World Cup, yeah, exactly. And then if he wins the World Cup, he's never got the Golden Boot, or oh wait, he got the MVP. Well, that was so undeserved. De Bruyne or Mbappe deserved it. They're just gonna keep going. Truth
Yep.
is, he's the best player in the world, whether you like it or not. And
Facts.
facts. If you had, yeah, I think that's it for from us for now. If you would like to support Blogonogram or the network or the podcast, or you just like to look cool doing it, you can cop some merchandise on our shop, blogonogram.com/shop. Use the code TDS Live for 15% off your next order. And you can see it here down below. Yeah, you can support us. Help us keep the lights on, and you can also wear some cool merch. We've got a polo shirt. I've got a T-shirt hanging there that it's out of frame, but it's there. We've got mugs, we've got hoodies, we've got Bluetooth speakers, smartwatch, whatever you want, we got it. So yeah, check it out. It would help us, and you know, it's pretty nice merch. It's pretty cool merch. So yeah, check it out. If you haven't already, if you've enjoyed this, do like, follow, subscribe on the relevant platform you're watching on. This has gone on live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And yeah, we are back. Although for next episode, we have some technical, well, not really technical issues, but we have some things that we gotta solve out in terms of the schedule. So we'll let you know when the next episode goes live. But usually these episodes do go live every Monday, 4 p.m. Central European time. And If you do miss out on the streams on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, you can rewatch them on those 3 platforms, or you can listen on whatever platform you use for podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all that good stuff. It's all there. So check that out and drop us a follow or subscribe. I was going to say subscription, but that just sounds different. Or drop a like if you enjoyed this. On that note, I hope you're staying sane, safe, and well, and staying in touch with your loved ones. Joav, that's it from me. Any last words?
No, let's hope that you have an amazing Euro competition, as we said. And well, please, everybody stay safe. Don't make rash decisions. And well, yeah, have a good one.
Yeah, thank you everyone so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time. And until then, we're going to roll the outro. It's going to stop at some point, but we're going to roll the outro. Stay safe, everyone. Godspeed.
My name is Phil Shane, and you've been listening to The Driven Shot, hosted by Omar Hawwash and the Blaugranagram News Outlet. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you have a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.